currently in Nashville. I am here for an LGBTQIA conference, which I'm really excited about, called Camp Pride. I talked to Angela recently, and we had a really profound conversation. But I think that there's something really interesting that I wanted to talk about, or expand upon, I guess, of this idea of, as an ally and as someone who is really passionate about social justice issues, to remember that, like, there is always this existence of being both within and without. So I exist both within and without of the community, and to not only acknowledge this but respect that, and respect the fact that no matter how much passion I have or how much self-education I do or listening I do, it does not give me the ability to 100% understand. And I think that's the same for a lot of different social justice issues across the board. But I think it's also something else really interesting and much more personal to me, and I think Angela as well, which it made me think a lot more about identity and identity discussions and how we perceive other people and how we project ourselves. And we talked about this briefly in our phone conversation, but I wanted to expand upon this in terms of, like, I identify as a nerd. This is a huge part of who I am. I don't get offended, but there are certain things that I find very offensive that I think has been addressed by certain people of the nerd community. I was reading earlier, I'm going to forget the author. I'll have to set up a comment or a link for it. But I was reading an article that was a very critical analysis of the Big Bang Theory that I was super excited about, because I appreciate the show on one hand, and it does acknowledge a lot of the positive and a lot of the exciting things that it talks about and appreciates about nerd culture. But I do feel like it perpetuates a very negative, very white stereotype. And I know, oh my gosh, what are you saying? But I think my biggest problem with the show is with how it treats women within nerd culture. It doesn't really acknowledge that there are women within it who are dateable, I guess, or like desirable in that way, which I think is very frustrating to me and very issued, to say the least. And I know that they, in later seasons, sort of balance this by adding the super nerdy Amy. But even Amy isn't really given a role as a woman within the nerd community. And that's what I really wanted. I really wanted there to be a strong female character, you know. I really wanted there to be like a Felicia Day character. And that doesn't exist in that show. But I do appreciate it for what it is. It is a step in the right direction in appreciating nerd community and acknowledging nerd community and loving nerd community. Probably not as much as me. Nobody can. But yeah, so that's something I got sidetracked by, I should say, or just really enthusiastic by, because I really do think it is a passion of mine and it is an issue of mine, and in terms of, like, I do think it is something that our society needs to think about. Not specifically nerd culture, but more broadly thinking about how we look at each other, and how we define things like culture. Because culture means, in my opinion, different things to different people. You know, for me, I grew up in a nerd culture. You know, you, Ange, grew up in a nerd culture, and I think we both embrace our nerd culture and love it and perpetuate it in the best way possible. But I think that's very rare and very special, and I want to expand upon it and create community for that. So, let me know your thoughts and get back to me on Sunday. Bye!